are being very punchy about it because we will build the homes that we desperately need.
You say you're being punchy, but this is not very Angela Rayner. Why can't you just say, look, guys, the newts, the black-legged kittiwakes, the bats, you're going to have to take second place to getting houses for people.
Well, I believe we can offset, look after them, but at the same time not stop building.
All right.
Because we can't have a situation where a newt's more protected than people who desperately need housing. What we need is a process which says protect the nature and wildlife, but not at the expense of us building the houses we need. We could do both.
All right, let me ask you...
Angela Rayner has just made a fatal mistake that may haunt her for a long time. On live television, she furiously attacked Donald Trump, calling him a buffoon and making him look ridiculous. She even dared to compare him to Boris Johnson, as if trying to figure out which one was worse. Everyone expected that this bold move would cause a storm of approval among supporters of the Labour Party, but instead, it turned out to have unexpected and shocking consequences. The problem wasn't just the insult itself. Rayner's attacks on Trump quickly drew attention to her own political weaknesses. Her inability to deal with facts, her inability to explain Labour's policies, and her avoidance of difficult issues were suddenly targeted. Instead of demonstrating her strength and confidence, she only reminded everyone of the deep problems with trust in the Labour Party. It wasn't just a blunder, it was a blow to her reputation that could leave an indelible mark.
To begin with, it is a pleasure to have another exchange with the Right Honourable Lady in this House, our 5th in 12 months. Any more of these, and she'll be claiming it as her principal residence. On the issue of no-fault evictions, it may have escaped the Right Honourable Lady's attention, but we will be voting on exactly that matter later today. The Conservative government taking action.
And then something absolutely shocking happened. Trump not only did not respond to the insults, but also surprised everyone with his behavior. He didn't call Angela Rayner names or snap back in his usual aggressive style. Instead, he did something no one expected. He praised Starmer. It suddenly became obvious that it was not about Rayner overthrowing Trump, but about the fact that the Labour Party was in an extremely awkward and even humiliating position. Rayner had just launched a barrage of attacks on Trump, but he deftly turned the conversation in a completely different direction. By praising Starmer, Trump has put the Labour Party in a real dilemma. If Starmer accepts the compliment, it will cast the Labour Party in a negative light towards Trump and alienate many of his supporters. And if he rejects it, it will make him ungrateful and disdainful of unexpected international support. In any case, the Labour Party was faced with a situation for which they were absolutely unprepared. In addition, the problem with personnel in the Labour Party is compounded by the fact that 100 candidates went to the polls in the midst of the election campaign, which created additional difficulties and added to the chaos. Trump is certainly an instinctive opponent, and they will try to use this to their advantage. His move was not just unexpected, it was strategic and thoughtful. Instead of engaging in direct confrontation, he created tension within the Labour Party itself. He put them in a situation where no response could be perfect, and thus made Rayner's attack completely inappropriate. She wanted to start a fight, but Trump just bypassed her and left the Labour Party in a difficult position, as if they were trapped. But Rayner's mistakes didn't end there. While people were discussing her statements, many began to dig into her own dossier, and what they found caused them serious concerns. She positioned herself as a bold political figure, but when it came to real management and politics, she repeatedly found herself caught off guard, as if lost in her own ambitions.
It's really obvious to me that Angela Rayner bought a council house under the Right to Buy scheme and basically made money, didn't pay the due tax on it as a second home because she wasn't actually living there. It's blatantly obvious that she's lied about that. She knows she's lied, we know she's lied, she knows that we know that she knows she's lied. Everyone knows she's lied. But the general view is it's a bit of a complicated story. You can't say it in one line. Oh, beer and curry it went during lockdown, or having a party during lockdown. It's not. It's a complicated story to tell. It was also a long time ago, and it was before she was an MP. So a lot of people would go, I'm not that bothered. We'd all have done the same. A lot of other people might say as well. But it doesn't mean that we haven't established that she's a liar.
One of the most serious problems has become the Labour Party's housing plan, and this is truly alarming. Rayner, being one of the most active supporters of the party's ambitious promise to build 1.5 million new homes, seemed confident in her intentions. At first glance, this sounds like a brilliant initiative, but when she was asked how many of these houses would be given to immigrants, she was completely at a loss. She had no idea what was going on. When the journalists reported that a significant part of these houses were intended for immigrants, she looked shocked, as if she had heard this for the first time. But that wasn't the only problem. Rayner repeatedly encountered difficulties in working with facts and figures during the interview. She failed to clearly explain Labour's tax plans, economic proposals, or even basic statistics on issues the party considers a priority.
It's been reported that you've received several £1,000s worth of expensive clothes and a posh trip to New York in a multi-million-dollar penthouse. Can this be justified, Deputy Prime Minister?
Right, we got that. You know what? Do you know what, Matt? We started off nice, didn't we? We started off, we did a softball. I like the softballs. And now you're coming in hard. You are coming in. I don't know if I'm at GB News or the P. Freak Off. I don't know what's going on. But I will say this. You know what? We have answered all of the questions, and we've been upfront and honest. And, I don't understand why everybody has to keep going that instead of asking us about policy and positive stuff that us Labourers have done, you're going in straight away with scandal. I've had enough.
When asked about the number of children in crowded classrooms, she could not give an exact figure, although this question was critically important for the Labour Party. When it came to tax policy, she evaded the question, changed the subject, or simply repeated vague phrases. These constant blunders cast doubt on her competence. If Rayner can't explain Labour's policies, how can voters trust the party to run the country? Her attack on Trump was supposed to be a moment of strength, but instead only highlighted her own political weaknesses. However, the more serious problem is that Rayner's mistake exposed the internal contradictions in the Labour Party. While she was attacking Trump, the leader of her party was receiving praise from him. It looked extremely inappropriate for a party that is trying to demonstrate strength and unity.
I mean, the problem that I have with her, Lee, is that she genuinely believes that half the country, including you, by the way, are scum.
Yeah.
So how on earth can she represent me?
I mean, you won't hear me using foul language, Dan.
No,
ever. Not in public, anyway. Yeah, I mean, I was there when she used the scum word.
Yeah.
I think she got caught as well at some event, a fringe event at the Labour conference, using that word. It shows what she really thinks, because when you use those words, it shows what you really think about, people like me in the Conservative Party, my colleagues. And it's not just us, Dan. It's people like my parents who voted Conservative the first time, my friends, my family. Lots of people in this country vote Conservative. And when you're labelling them as scum, you're sort of telling half the country that you don't want them on board, you don't believe what they say, you treat them as third-class citizens. I mean, I think most people now listening to that clip, if we could play that clip the night before the general election, we'd get a landslide. We would.
As a result, the Labour Party looked disorganised, sending conflicting signals instead of presenting a clear vision. This is part of a deeper problem with the leadership of the Labour Party. The party had been criticising Trump for years, but suddenly its leader received an unexpected endorsement from him. Now it was unclear how the Labour Party should react. Should Starmer accept the compliment and risk appearing weak in the eyes of his base, or should he reject it and look petty? Meanwhile, Rayner's attack on Trump, which was supposed to rally Labour supporters, has now been overshadowed by this unexpected turn of events, leaving the party in turmoil and confusion. See you later.